Welcome back to the Balance Boldly podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I'm your host, Naketa Ren Thigpen. Always excited to be in the place with you guys. Listen, we always have really exciting, brilliant, and beautiful humans here on the BBP that we affectionately call the BBP because it is the Balance Boldly podcast. And we're always excited to introduce new people to you. But sometimes I got to go back into the crates of my favorite playlist, my favorite people, my favorite interviews who also happen to be friends as well. And this human that we are bringing today is absolutely magical. She glows from the inside out. I've seen her evolve from already good to greater to greatest, and who knows where the world is taking her next. My good friend, Jasmin Haley, nationally awarded speaker, author, educator, and podcaster, dedicated to helping audiences understand that the time is now if they want to make an impact and serve their communities from the heart. Jasmin is serving up so much goodness in so many ways, from private speaker retreats with just an intimate few that are selected specifically because of their ambition, their tenacity, and their willingness to do what most people are not willing to do, down to her memberships in her open forum to make sure that she can supply you with all the good tools you need if your message is really meant to come through your voice box the way that so many speakers hope it will be one day, someday. Jasmin is saying no more one day, someday. It is now. Today is your time. You just have to zip yourself up with motivation and understanding that with the right guidance, you can get to every next level that you are going, one step at a time. Jasmin, welcome to the BBP. How are you today?
Woo! My word. First of all, thank you, but can you come and do my intro for every time I'm interviewing somebody? Because that was powerful, okay?
I'll try. I got to catch up with your travel schedule. I got to catch up.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here again.
Thank you. I'm super excited. I would love for us to kick off before we dive into all the work life and love balance and how you're doing in all the world. What are you doing in the world right now in your own words as you work with people? Because I know you're serving up some goodness in different divisions of your business.
Yes, absolutely. So since we've last talked, I decided to take my skills and what I've done in my own business through speaking and hosting events. And I created a global consulting firm. So what I do is I help rock stars who are looking to amplify their voice through the stage, refine their presentations, creating their presentations, creating the speaker marketing assets necessary for them to claim the stage and make recurring income through speaking. And I've been able to do that for my own self. I've been able to help my clients do the same. And I feel that it is a huge part of my own legacy to help at least 1,000 professionals get up there and make a difference through using the power of their voice.
Nice. Now, you've been a speaker since I've known you, and we're talking at this point close to a decade, give or take a year or two, right?
Yes.
So you've always had a intrinsic gift for communicating your message, whatever your message was at that time, wherever your heart was leading you at that time, whatever audience that you were, idealizing as your target that you could give the most impact to at the time. You've always been magical at that. And you also have some behind the scenes magical skills with organization and systems and all the different things that I know that you've dug into to help you get to the place of your purpose right now. But what was it, if you can remember, that aha moment that made you say, you know what, this is not just a tool as speaking. Speaking is not just a tool to elevate this part of my message, to showcase this part of my business. I have a more holistic gift and a holistic way of really helping people and not just impacting, but I dare say leaving an imprint in so many ways that create new ripples. What was your aha moment that made you say, oh no, I have to take this from being a tool to making this the actual bridge?
What an excellent question, because I feel that in my journey, I resisted where I was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of false stories that I was telling myself, and when I look back on my life, personally and professionally, there was little seeds that were being dropped on where I need to be and where I'm at right now. Mm-hmm. And to be fully transparent, it was when the dust bunnies was running up in my bank account.
Come on.
And I was not being obedient to where God was leading me.
Yeah.
And I had 3 failed launches trying to make another business work that was not aligned with the gifts that God had given me.
Yeah.
That was when I was like, okay, I either hang it all up and be a housewife, or I listen to where he's directing me.
Yeah.
And so when I kept having clients come in and I was like, oh, well, let me help you get your systems together for your business. And they're like, no. Look at my speaker abstract for me.
Come on.
Can you let me know like where I can put the title, the course description? I'm like, okay, all right, fine. We'll add that in. I'll do that for you. But I still wasn't willing to claim that and say, I am a presentation skills and curriculum design expert. I've always have been. Yeah. I've been helping my students, hundreds of students with their public health programs. I was hired as an educational consultant at a university of School of Medicine, particularly in Baltimore. I was hired to help other professionals who had all these daggone degrees. And yet they needed my help in constructing a program that reached the hearts of the students that they were educating, the professionals they were educating. It's always been there, but I was running from that. And as soon as I said, let me go ahead and ugly launch and use what I've been given and be obedient and surrender, my business skyrocketed.
Yeah. Yeah. 1,000%.
So that's what led me there.
It's amazing what happens when you get out of your own way. You and I, outside of, on air conversations, have had multiple conversations. And I believe I've shared with you more than once how I did the same thing when we started Think Pro. We started as a staffing company that had a professional development arm. And I was literally going to one day, someday, the PD part of that, the professional development arm. But it was, let's focus on the staffing. Let's get people financially secure, because we know finances is the number one reason that most relationships deteriorate, even if they stay together. But they stay together as cohabitating roommates and not as lovers, right? So that was always, the building stronger families was always the mission. But my how to get there was so wonky because I was resisting what was right in front of me. I had the same exact issues coming. These corporate clients that I wanted to retain for our staffing component was like, no, we need you to come and do more training. No, can you consult? Hey, can you help us with this component over here? We're having some relationship challenges with our retention, with our leaders. Like everything really came down to balance and relationship. But I'm like, excuse me, I want your business for hiring employees. I was like so focused that I was losing money. And personally, we lost over 100K in 6 to 8 months of our business. Part of that was being out of alignment. It was a good business model. It had lots of awesome tenets and possibilities, but it wasn't in alignment with my gifts. So there was no way the universe was going to honor that as my thing. We made a little money. We made some new friends. We did all that, but it was a struggle. We basically created a new 80 to 100 hour a week job for us, which is the opposite of balance, right? Like the opposite reason of what you want. And I know that your background is also in helping people with realizing that burnout is real and they don't have to live that way. And if they happen to fall upon burnout, which comes to many, many, many professionals, if they're honest with themselves, that there is a way to grow from it and to eliminate it at that level in your life. So yes, you may experience fatigue again, but you don't necessarily have to get to the point of burnout. And I know that that was a part of your journey with many of those things. So now you get to create, literally, pun intended, all over the show, your own work, life, and love balance your way without having to succumb and default to what you knew as an ambitious professional and constantly have these cycles of burnout come back up in your new purpose-driven business.
Absolutely. And I think fundamentally what we forget is, so I'll give you a great example before I lead into that. I just hosted an event before this recording, and one of the key parts that I talk about is being firmly, deeply rooted in our sense of worthiness, and like understanding that the fact that we're just breathing, we're already deserving, right? And there's a business owner that was there, and she's already has $1 million business. And she said, oh, I'm good with this. I don't need this. I don't need the worthiness part, right? So as we start constructing the program, the speaking program, I noticed that she wasn't coming with her full self in it. And so my job as the consultant and the coach in that experience was to check her on it. And then all of a sudden it clicked to her, that remnants of the worthiness factor was preventing her from showing up fully in the speaking. Absolutely. So I don't care what place you are in your business, what you've accomplished. She's accomplished amazing things. We all continuously have to work on our worthiness level. And in fact, one of my clients, her name is Arnita Craighead. I want to say her name because I'm about to quote her. She states, you need to raise your deserve level. And we all have to consider how we're going to do that on a regular basis when we're showing up for ourselves. So in 2019, I said, I'm going to blow up my whole business, even though I made it to 6 figures, and start over again. And a lot of people have asked me, well, why? Because I knew that I can have a greater representation of that work-life harmony, that work-life love, joy that I wanted, but I could not have it in the current business model I was in. And I needed to listen to those whispers that something needed to change. And so this year, after 1.5 years of sticking consistently with that, I had a month where I made more than what I made as a teacher in a year, in 1 month. And that was because I surrendered. I got aligned. I really thought about what kind of quality of life that I needed. I needed to work on my worthiness. And I needed to understand that I was already deserving of it. And I need to show up in that space fully.
Exactly.
Internally, externally.
Absolutely. 1,000%. There's nothing more potent than when you know you have alignment. Even when sometimes you can't understand how you got here because you've been on such a roller coaster and you were like, woo, flipping around, right? With the different aspects of your passion. And I liken it because we have a lot of people that are listening to the show that are entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial spirits, right? Like they have the creative analytical portions of an entrepreneur, but maybe they still work in a corporate environment and there's no shame or blame or anything. Our companies need amazing people too. So we don't necessarily want everybody to be an entrepreneur. We need people to help us thrive and do our things. But sometimes there are questions when we have these deeper conversations are, how do I know? Because right now people think I'm the jack of all trades because I've done so much. Or, when you are really focused on elevating something, you really tell the whole world. But then a year later or 2 years later or 6 months later, you realize that wasn't it. So now you almost feel imposter syndrome. Like even though you made amazing accomplishments in those other endeavors that you did when you were at your undergrad level versus your grad level versus your doctorate level. And I'm not talking about degrees. I'm talking about your state of mind and moving through that. And then the fear of owning the new thing that you feel called to, that you've been resisting for so long is, will people think that I'm just doing something else? This is just one more thing and they won't buy into it. When the reality is it doesn't matter what they buy into. You have to buy into it. You have to believe that this is the thing that you want to go all in on, because I truly believe that when you work through different passions, the systems passions of yourself, the, curriculum design passions of yourself, all of that, you're like excavating through chaos and confusion that built up. And then it opens you up to what was already there. It was there the whole time. The day I met you, it was at a speaking event. I happened to be the speaker that particular day, but then right after that, I was seeing you in your zone that you didn't claim as your zone at the time speaking, but it was already there. There were just so many other factors of life and all the things that come that were on top of it. And I went through the same thing. So I could recognize that you're doing really well. You're not quite there yet, but not in a, you're not where I'm at, right? It's more of a, I see that you're going so much further. And I know you can say the same in reverse to me. And there's so many people that we can look at like, you're doing really great. Just like you looked at that $1 million, earning client who was at the event this week. You're doing amazing. You have such accomplishments. Don't deny them, reflect on them and celebrate. And in parentheses, know you have a little further to go. And hers showed up for her right in the moment, which was amazing. Such a gift to her that it did expose itself because she had someone who could guide her through it right there, which was you.
Absolutely. And these are skills like, I really appreciate you bringing that out because it doesn't matter whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are in corporate, whether you happen to be at home. These are skills that are necessary for you to be at peace, to have the joy that you deserve, to fulfill your legacy. We're all building our legacy. Every decision that we make, every interaction that we make, we're all building our legacy. And there are so many of us that we know that there's a pull of wanting more or showing up more for ourselves. We may have hints that we need to set up more boundaries.
Come on.
Right? That was a huge one for me. And when we're able to honor that, when we're able to show up for ourselves, it then opens up the floodgates for even more abundance to come into our lives. And I think that is the part that we have to keep reminding ourselves. It's not always comfortable. It's not always easy. But when you do make the choice to honor yourself, and when you honor yourself, you show up in a different way. You glow as Naketa is glowing right now. There's just so much.
Look, say it again, but stop it.
Yeah, there's something really beautiful about that. And in fact, I was just talking this week to someone that came into a room and she had this quiet confidence. And I said to her, has anyone ever told you that you're extremely sexy?
Yes. Come on. Like, that's my language.
And I wasn't hitting on her.
Of course.
It was just like, it was exuding. I'm like, man, that's how powerful her work is.
Yes.
Her work is to help people unleash their feminine leadership, to unleash their erotic leadership.
Nice.
Something that I had never heard in that way, talked in that way. But it wasn't until she found that work, life, love, joy, harmony for herself and removed some of the corporate training of repressing that.
Yes. Yes. And that happens so much. No, I'm just thinking about, that's a good point. The anchors, those scripts that we have that have been leading us that worked really well. When you're in corporate and you have to put on the pencil skirt and the pearls and the button up and, the 4-inch heels to 6-inch heels, that's your mentality. You got to be buttoned up. You got to do this. You got to do that. But when you become an entrepreneur or you're an entrepreneurial spirit in a leadership position in one of those companies and you get to help change the culture of that organization by letting them see there's ways of being that could expand and illuminate the untapped gifts of so many of these employees that work here, of so many people that I get to impact if I wasn't so rigid about it has to be the way that it was when I used to do this or work here, or, you're not a real business if you're not, using Infusionsoft or whatever. Like, no, actually, there's other ways to do it. Infusionsoft is great. It's great. But you don't have to use that. And I know as an entrepreneur, a lot of us fall into that. The person I was studying after, the consultant, the coach, the mentor, the advisor, whoever, they use these systems and they're at a certain level of their significance in terms of their income. So I must have to use that too. And I'm picking on software, but it goes It threads through so many other things that we think we
Everything.
have to do. Exactly.
The way we wear our hair.
Yes.
The way, I mean, like what this person was doing was showing up as their authentic self.
Yes.
You can do that in a corporate setting. You can do that as an entrepreneur. You can do that in your personal life.
Yes.
And if you don't do it, what you're doing is you're killing yourself. You're killing the spirit of what makes you who you are.
Yeah.
You see it manifest in ways like I've experienced with my burnout syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
I was dealing with horrible gastrointestinal pain. There was times where I couldn't even use the bathroom without assistance because I had such deep pain within my joints. I wasn't even at the age of 30. I wasn't even 30 years old. And so all of these repeated hospital visits, all of these tests that were being done that were showing up negative, but the root of the issue was trauma that was not healed and a external environment that was toxic that created this perfect storm along with the death of my mother. All of those things coming in finally made my body say, enough is enough. We're done with you right now.
Right.
Because you're not going to honor yourself. Then we're going to help you appreciate what that means to us. I don't know why I'm saying us like there's multiple people, but
because you're talking to all the organs, the joints, the skeletal system. That's why you're like, I'm appreciating and respecting.
Yes, the multiple departments is what I want to call it. But yes, the systems within our body.
No, I love it. I think it's fantastic as a woman of God that I know you are as well. When you realize that you have everything you need, including sensors in your body that are like you're ignoring the flashing, alarming, blinking signs. So let me give you something that you cannot ignore. No matter how brilliant and intellectual and cerebral you are, guess what you won't do? You won't ignore the fact that you can't use the bathroom by yourself. You won't ignore needing help or support with a thing. You won't ignore a migraine that keeps you from driving for a year. You won't ignore some things. And that, I feel, as horrid and inconvenient as those things are, they literally can save your life if you allow it, because it slows you down so you can listen to what matters most, which is what is going on inside of you as barometers and flares that are like, hey, over here, I need you. I miss you. I want some more attention besides, nice, laid hair and good skin. I need some more attention. And sometimes those things tell on you. I remember when my hair was falling out and my skin was like, what is happening right now?
I've had that happen. I know exactly what you're talking about. And, it also made me think really quickly just about this untapped skill we all have to know when things don't feel right, but we're so inundated with so much stuff happening around us.
Yeah.
We don't take enough time to create white space in our life where we could be still and at peace. A lot of us, which is a trauma trigger, I believe, or trauma response, fill up our schedule with so many things and we get uncomfortable being still.
Yep.
But it's in those times that you strengthen the skill that many children already have. I don't know if you've ever seen a child. Well, you might, of course you have, as a mother and a G mom. You ever have seen a child who met someone and they felt like that, the child felt like that person they were meeting, they didn't rock with.
Right.
They didn't feel comfortable with them. And then we may force them and say, oh no, Billy, go ahead and give them so-and-so a hug. Right? No, that's their body sense.
Yes.
Their internal barometer is saying something's not right. I don't feel comfortable.
Right.
So we're taught, even as children, to suppress that innate ability. And that's the thing that actually is put there to protect us.
Absolutely.
So we ignore it when we're in a corporate work environment and we're burned out. We ignore it when we are, serving our family.
Right.
Not putting boundaries up for our mate, for our children.
Come on.
Because we've been conditioned to just ignore that part. And so with therapy, for me, I've had to go put myself through therapy. I was in Naketa's coaching program. She was pouring into me in ways that I didn't even realize how much I needed. I didn't have someone talk to me in the way that empowered me to pause, that empowered me to know that it's okay to have these desires as a woman, but also pursue the goals that I want to achieve. Like sometimes we have to pause, we have to create space, but then get courageous enough to start changing our external environment and inviting people like Naketa into our life to start that process of freedom that we all could potentially have if we're brave enough to move forward in that direction.
1,000%. Oh, thank you, Jasmine. You're so sweet. Mm-hmm. Don't get me started on all the amazingness of this woman. I'll take the compliment and sit in it, right? Because you know how we get and like, oh, you're so sweet. No, you're so sweet, right? Which is honest and it's true because I mean it. But I do really receive that, and I thank you for including your portion of the chapter that we shared together as part of the journey that helped you uncover where you needed to go next so you could get to that next shift and the next shift and the next shift that ultimately created your breakthrough.
Yes.
Which I appreciate.
It's multi-layered, and all of those parts are important.
They're integral.
Yes.
On every level. You're about to have me go on a whole thing about why I created the Intentionally Selfish Suite to help people create that white space, but I'm not going to do it because it's not my time. It's not my time. It's Jasmine's. So I have to ask you, Jazz, before we go, now that you've come to this place in your life where you feel aligned with your purpose, you're clearly in a vibe, because you talk about me having a glow. You are glowing. There is such a beautiful aura of joy around you that's emanating, even though you're tired from pouring out so much the day before, right? Like with this inaugural event and all the things that you have going on, and the fact that you can still illuminate that way, even after you're like, oh, I need a nap, right? Like that's significant, and that says a lot. So how are you giving yourself these days permission to pause?
Now, Naketa laid this groundwork for me. I was like, all right, she can take off this time, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever she want to do. I can do the same. So last year was my first time of actually taking off 6 weeks.
Yes.
And so this year, it's 2 months out of the year. My entire company is closed July and December. And I just implemented the 4th week of every month where no calls are scheduled for me.
That's right.
Like nothing. So I have a CEO day every Monday and Friday. I can do what I want. I can watch Law and Order. I can catch up on work if I want to. I can go get my hair done, whatever. Right?
That's right.
So I have made it possible for me to have a multi-six-figure business in 10 months, which is probably even less than that if you really account the time now that I'm taking off.
Yeah.
So when I work and I work hard.
Yes.
But I also give myself permission to pause and know that everything will be exactly how it needs to be placed if I strategically plan for it. Yes. This doesn't happen by chance. I had to sit down and map it out and say, that's it. It gets blocked now.
Yeah.
So that it can happen.
1,000%. Look at how the creator of the universe that I praise has aligned so much in a conscious wave. I do those Amplify Intimacy weeks too, the 4th and 5th week of the month, no calls. And Wednesday and Friday are CEO flow day for me, Wednesday up until noon and all day Friday. And that changed my business when we decided to really expand the way we were working with power couples and married women in leadership in the intimacy space. It changed everything. And knowing that you and I have not talked about this portion at all. So this was not something at all that we were like, oh, we're just sharing. And the fact that you're literally doing the same thing, plus the end of year, I call it winter solstice, but you have that other December thing that for me and probably for you started because the babies were younger when I started the business and they were always off for 2 weeks. I was like, all right, well, that's 2 weeks that I might as well not drive myself crazy trying to squeeze in stuff while they're home. So I made that an additional 3 to 4 weeks at the end too. And the fact that you're doing that, and I know your babies are younger as well. They're still school age. We're just going to count down that they stay like this forever because they are gorgeous already. But with you doing that, I know your family feels so much more connected to you in a deeper way that they probably couldn't connect to you when there was toxicity and just all the things. You were a good parent. There's no question, but it's hard to be great when you're inundated and you're ultimately sick. Right?
Yes.
And I relate to that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, because I'm creating more space, I'm looking at what kind of hobby can I do? Like I just bought myself a kayak.
Nice.
And I'm ready to get some real skates.
Yes.
And I'm just looking at what else can I do that just allows me to just be me, to be present and be me.
Yes. Jasmin, forever and ever, I love you. How can people connect with you?
Yes, so you can find me at JasminHaley.com. I'm a Jasmin without an E, y'all, okay? You can find me on LinkedIn, Jasmin Haley, and IG at It's Jasmin Haley.
That's perfect. I could talk to you forever. I'm so grateful and honored that you carved out this time, especially after coming off a really, really big event. And you have a tour coming up, right?
Yeah, so we did our first stop in Charlotte, and August will be in Chicago, September will be in San Diego, and November will be in New York City. So I am creating my own table and I'm taking up space, and I'm telling people, if you want to get to that next level with your speaking, come on over and let's shake it.
I know that's right. And can they find out information about your tour from one of your websites as well?
So actually they need to find it from my LinkedIn or IG, because this is something that's exclusive, or just DM me because I don't have it on my site. This is for people that are really ready for that game changing next level. And we can chat to see if this is a great fit for you.
Oh, I love that. Make sure you guys DM her and tell her that you heard her on the BBP, on the Balance Bully podcast. So she knows that you're not just a weird stalker, just ultimately trying to tell her how beautiful she is and invite her to sign up for some money that she won through a legacy retirement, right? Because all those things are happening these days. Thank you so much, Jasmin, for coming to the BBP. We honor you and we welcome you back anytime.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was a great conversation.
Thank you, Balance Boldly listeners, for sticking around and enjoying everything. I want you to do two things as always. Make sure you follow our featured expert, Jasmin Haley. Find her on LinkedIn, go to IG, go to her website, whatever is the best place for you. But make sure you connect. These are new people that you now get to invite into your ecosystem as well. And the second thing, as always, is enjoy the balance of your day, but remember, do it boldly.